to judge of you. Oh.
What a great way to kick off tonight's edition of Headbangers Ball. We're coming to you from New York City, and we just got underway there with Dio live on stage at the Roxy in the Big Apple. So now it's time to say welcome to the man himself and also to Vinny. So welcome, you guys. Long overdue return to Headbangers Ball, I must say. Great to see you. How have the dates been going so far?
They've been going great. Of course, it's ourselves and Motorhead. They've been Motorhead-ish. What else could I say? You know, when you got Motorhead out with everything, it's like kind of here and there. It's been great. The crowds have been wonderful. People have been very anxious to see us and Motorhead, of course. It's been terrific.
Excellent. Well, you have been off the scene for a little while, and I wondered what was the catalyst to start up Dio again? Were you just like missing being on the road and playing music?
Well, I think that there's been a lot of misconception. When Vinny and I left Dio to go back to Sabbath again to do the Dehumanizer album, well, we at the end of that particular stint, we put the band back together again, did an album called Strange Highways, toured for about a year, but it's been almost 3 years since making that album and now doing this one. So I think it appeared as though we kind of dropped out of sight, but we have just carried on and still been doing the same thing.
South America. Last December we did a little tour down there, and that broke up the writing for the new record and stuff. So we were busy.
Stayed busy, but it's good to be back, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's what we do, you know.
Well, if we could talk a little bit about the new album, Angry Machines. I know that you and Vinny have a long history together, obviously, but you always work with world-class musicians, and you had Jeff Pilson of Dokken. He's still in Dokken, obviously playing bass on the record and writing with you. Is that an inspiration in itself to you, Ronnie, to work with these people?
Well, it was just taking Jeff in particular. It was always great to work with Jeff. Jeff did the last album that we did together, Strange Highways, and this one as well. And Jeff, he's just such a great musician, such a great person. We instantly fell into rapport, not only from a personal standpoint, but certainly musically. And I think, you know, the most important thing is that the bass player and the drummer have to get along well musically. And Vinny and Jeff just really struck a chord together. It was just automatically right there. So we thought it would be a little bit more difficult to not have Jeff on the road with us because he is doing his Dokken project, and we knew that all along. It wasn't anything that was hidden. We knew he perhaps would have that commitment, and unfortunately it came about. So we had to replace Jeff and we replaced him with a great bass player named Larry Dennison. Larry played before with Lita Ford for a while, with Tony McAlpine, so he's got some good credentials. But working with Jeff was always fun because he's just so well-rounded as a player and as a writer and as a friend. But Larry certainly filled the space very, very well.
Excellent. Well, we're going to talk some more, but we'd like to go to a Dio video just for now. Now, there's not a new one available yet off Angry Machines, is there? So what would you like to see? If you could show us a classic Dio video, what do you reckon?
Oh, I would think, to me, the video that was always the most fun to do and probably the most involved was The Last in Line, which was almost a mini film in itself, and that would always be my first choice.
Excellent. Well, let's check that out because it's great to see that on Headbangers Ball. Actually, we haven't seen that for a little while. So here we go. Dio, Last in Line. Classic video coming at you right now, and we'll talk to Dio some more a bit later on. Hi there, welcome back to Headbangers Ball, coming at you off the Motorhead Dio US tour, and it's classic videos, classic bands all the way tonight. In fact, we just got back from Dokken, and of course the Don Dokken band actually featured Mikkey Dee, who is now in Motorhead, and of course Jeff Pilson, who played on Ronnie's new album, is still back in Dokken. So quite a nice little link there. So talking, got it out in the end. So talking about the band live, you mentioned earlier that obviously you've got another bass player on the road, but you've got Tracy G on guitar, who used to be in World War III. What's Dio like live in '96? What are we going to get when you come to Europe?
We're monsters. We're monsters. We've always been monsters, but we're really monsters now. Tracy's just a fabulous player. He embodies all the things that I love, the heaviest guitar player on earth, much like Tony Iommi. Tony was always my favorite rhythm player, certainly, and favorite person to write with. Tracy's right in the same line as that. Yet he does all those other things that are great too. And you know, when we couple that all with again with Vinny, with Larry, with you know, myself, our keyboard player Scott Warren, it's just been wonderful. I mean, the band came together so quickly. Took us about, you know, a couple weeks of rehearsal until we realized just how good it was going to be again. And then after the shows, we've done about 3 weeks worth of shows now with Motorhead, and it came together very, very quickly.
If we could just talk a little bit about the lyrics on the LP, Ronnie. They seem to encompass kind of, can I say, more modern themes. What was the inspiration for that kind of lyrical direction? And would you say the album has any kind of theme running through it?
We began the album with rather a concept in mind. In fact, we're going to make it conceptual. But my feeling's always been, if you can't do it better than Tommy, you kind of stay away from it. And we weren't at the point where we thought it was going to be a better album than Tommy from a conceptual standpoint. So in answer to your question about the lyrics, of course, I've always been known as Mr. Magic Wizard, which is dragons, demons, and all that kind of thing. But, you know, the world we live in is just, I don't think it's prepared for that kind of escapism anymore. This is a real brutal place that we all live in now, with especially for, you know, the people we make music for. A lot of younger people are facing, you know, no chance of employment. Who cares about education? What's it going to get you? We have rocket scientists on the street now, you know, begging for nickels. We've got, you know, the threat of war always, what we've done to the ecology, disease, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, I'm painting a black picture, but it is a black place that we live in. So I couldn't in all good conscience tell people that dream and dream hard and your dreams will come true. Sure, that's still, you know, a probability, but I really needed to write about the world that I see. And it's a very realistic and, again, as I mentioned, brutal world out there. So this album is all of that. 9 of the 10 tracks are, again, very fatalistic, realistic in nature, with the one final track called This Is Your Life, which I felt I needed to write because I didn't want people to think that I was completely, you know, coming from a pessimistic attitude. You know, that there still is some optimism in my heart. I think we can still carry on.
A little bit more back to the nitty-gritty and more real.
Absolutely. It's, as you say, modern is the word, you know.
Well, I used the right word. Great, thank you. So actually, we're going to turn the clock back to 1984 for you right now, and we're going to check out the Scorpions, and we're going to return to their album A Love at First Sting, and great to see this video on Headbangers Ball again. We're going to check out Rock You Like a Hurricane, and we'll talk to Dio some more after that. So we've got a final few moments to talk to Ronnie and Vinny, and I think you touched on this a little bit on the last segment when we talked about the lyrics. You said that times are very different in the 90s, and I think that that is reflected in what's happening in the current rock scene. What are your thoughts on the state of metal in the mid to late 90s?
Well, it doesn't seem to be very healthy at the moment. A lot of the attention, of course, has gone to alternative styles of music, and so the pigeonhole that we've always been put in as metal people has even come down a little bit harder on us than it did before. I think that what we need to do as metal people is to think a little bit more futuristically, perhaps in the way that we've tried to do. I'm not saying that we're the standard bearers of this or in any way, shape, or form, but we've tried to listen to what's out there and take some of the attitudes of the younger musicians today and perhaps define them and refine them within the tradition that metal people have always had. And that's what we've done. I think that's what's needed to do. I think metal people have to think in future terms and not think about reforming so they can be the same band they were 20 years ago. That, I think, is the most awful thing that could ever happen, and I think that would certainly be the death knell for this kind of music. But I think that we won't have a problem. Unlike most people, I don't like to use that term, well, it's a cycle, it'll come back again, because if it does come back again, I won't be very happy with it, because I don't want to see that same kind of music made again. I want people to take steps forward.
Be innovative.
Absolutely has to. Let's invent a new instrument or something, you know, let's go, we're going to, you know, to the millennium, 2000's coming, you know, let's all take a walk there together.
Well, I must say I'm glad to hear that you use the term metal, because a lot of bands, sort of the bands that have been around a lot longer, are afraid to admit that they are that now, and they want to call themselves something else. So I'm glad that you're still flying the flag, so to speak.
We always will be. Always, always will be. It's the kind of music that we love to play. It's the kind that we believe in, and we know from the people that we talk to always on the road, which is the place that you really find out the truth. They are always there thanking us and Motorhead and bands like ourselves for always being true to that form of music, and they know that we care about it because they care about it. So, you know, there's always hope.
Here it comes again, straight through your heart. Hey, oh.
what do you think, Ronnie, that you can offer, or not just old fans, but also younger fans of metal that maybe other bands can't?
Well, I think in our case, again, we come from the tradition of bands like Deep Purple, Zeppelin, those kind of bands that we build our foundation on, people who could really sing and really could play, and we're very, very musical. That's what we pride ourselves upon. We're heavy as hell, and we'll always want to be, and always will be. But we again pride ourselves upon the musicality that we have, and I think that in a lot of ways that is something that is missing. I think that that's what we always must try to infuse younger players with. We hope that they'll want to emulate people like us, so that the singers will be better, so that the guitar players will play like the Ritchie Blackmores and Tony Iommis and Jimmy Pages, etc., etc. And I'm not trying to hope I'm not leaving anyone out. Of course I am, but I just think it's important that we can contribute our idea of musicality and perhaps let that carry on to some of the younger bands who are going to take our place when it's time for us to go away.
Well, thank you for that. So just to finish then, you're obviously looking forward to coming back to Europe, and you're going to be back there later this month. We will show you the tour dates later in the show. So just really expectations of coming back to Europe, and any message you would like to say to viewers watching back in Europe.
Well, we're just very happy that it's Europe who is the standard bearer for metal music at this particular moment. America is having a difficult time dealing with us, I think, and people like us. It's a very trendy place, as we all know anyway. But Europeans have always stayed, like we have, true to the kind of music that we love and that we play. So my message is, look out, we're coming back, and thanks for being there for us all the time. We know you will be, and we can't wait for it. It's going to be great for both us and Motorhead.
Great. That's great. Thank you very much. So stay metal. That's the message. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for talking to me.
Thanks.
Pleasure to see you, and I've enjoyed your lovely, sumptuous backstage dressing room here. I must say, it's
I
certainly
really like the buffet a lot.
it's certainly above average, this dressing room, let me tell you. So we'll catch you again in Europe, I hope, and wish you lots of luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that's Dio new album Angry Machines out now, and right now we'll check out some more Dio live here in New York City, and stay tuned after the break because we'll be catching up with Motorhead and finding out if their new album Overnight Sensation is maybe, I don't know, sarcastic or optimistic or whatever. We'll find out. But right now, taking us to the break, Dio live.
So let it out. You got the power. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Yes, 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 shout. Stand up and shout. Let your soul go.